Okay, so we're gonna have a test, a quiz tomorrow. Tomorrow being Wednesday. Remember, quizzes are just formatives, they're just a way to communicate what's going on and to get some different feedback. And I want to go over three problems, but when you're studying for this quiz, these three problems, but then I just need you to do the Desmos and then also the Delta Math assignment, that big Delta Math assignment that's just like a practice, like a gym. There's no due date on that thing. It's the most current assignment that's on Delta Math. Just go through there and try to jump around and do as many problems as you can in that assignment. That'll help. This one is the last problem on the Desmos activity from yesterday. This one was a tough one. The hint was said to draw a right triangle. Okay. Well, let's figure out what is even being asked of us. First thing I have to do is figure out what that is. That is saying the tangent inverse of rad 2 over 5. So that is an angle. I want an angle that happens to have a tangent of rad 2 over 5. Now, the red boxes are the tangent values of special angles. 60, 45, 30, 45, and 60. Those are all special angles. But nowhere, if you look at all these red boxes, you will not see rad 2 over 5. All that means is rad 2 over 5 is not a special angle, but it is an angle. And I can just, let's say I could put the angle right there in a right triangle. And in right triangle trigonometry, it's SOHCAHTOA. And tangent is the TOA in that situation. So the opposite of this angle would be rad 2. The adjacent is 5. Does this even help me at all? Well, I could go a little bit further and figure out the hypotenuse. Leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So that's 25 plus 2, which is 27. And rad 27, which is rad 9 times rad 3, which is 3 rad 3. So the hypotenuse is 3 rad 3. Does that help me? I'm losing track of what do I need to figure out? Well, I need to figure out the angle that has a tangent of that, or do I? Because after I find that angle, it's not asking for the angle, is it? This question ultimately is not asking for the angle. It's asking for the sine of whatever that angle is. And I don't know the angle, and I don't even have to find it out. What this is really saying is find the sine of theta. This theta. Find the sine of theta, but not just any old theta, the theta that happens to have a tangent of rad 2 over 5. And this theta does have a tangent of rad 2 over 5. So this problem boils down to just a SOHCAHTOA problem. The sine of this theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So it is rad 2 over 3 rad 3. Multiply both sides by rad 3 over rad 3. And I get rad 6 over 3 times rad 9, which is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So rad 6 over 9 is this answer. The sine of the tangent inverse of rad 2 over 5. So in other words, the sine of an angle that happens to have a tangent of rad 2 over 5. I love this question right here. Every year I look forward to putting it on a quiz and a test and looking forward to reading your explanations. Which is bigger, sine of 9 pi over 8 or cosine of 175? If students miss this problem, they miss it because they don't know what's being asked. They look at 9 pi over 8 and they look at 175 degrees, and the first thing they do is they convert 9 pi over 8 to degrees, and then they compare how many degrees is this one compared to 175 degrees, and they just pick the bigger one. That is not what this question is asking at all. What is bigger? Is the sine of 9 pi over 8 bigger than the cosine of 175 degrees? Or is cosine of 175 bigger? Or are they equal? Without a calculator, how can we figure this out? Without a calculator, you have to have some decent knowledge of the unit circle. There's the unit circle. Where is 9 pi over 8? Well, that's pi. In other words, that's 8 pi over 8. 9 pi over 8 is going to be a little bit further down the track. So 9 pi over 8 is 1 pi over 8 past the halfway point. And what do I know about the sine of that angle? Well, I know it's negative, but it's not too negative. Remember, sine is the y value. When the most negative sine could be is way down there at -1. And remember, here sine is 0. So it's just past 0. It's negative, but it's not too negative. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind. What about the cosine of 175? Well, there's my circle, and 175 degrees is about 5 degrees before the 180 mark, and cosine is x. Now, again, this one is also negative, but do you see that it's really very much negative? The most negative cosine could ever be is -1, way over there to the left. And I hope you can see that this angle 175, it's not quite all the way to -1, but it's darn close. It's like, it might be like -0.9 or something. So I'm gonna guess that this is about -0.9, give or take. This is also negative, but it's just barely negative. It just barely went past the 0. So it's negative, but it's not that negative. So maybe -0.2 or something. I don't know. Now, what's bigger, -0.2 or -0.9? -0.2 is bigger. You'd rather be in debt 20 cents than 90 cents. -0.2 is bigger than -0.9. So that is the answer, and that is the reason why. It's not because 9 pi over 8 is a bigger angle than 175. That's true, but that is not why the sine of 9 pi over 8 is bigger than the cosine of 175. It's because those trig values happen to produce two negative numbers. One is much more negative than the other. Here, evaluate, the root word is value, which means find the value. So we're going to figure out what that sine value is, what that cosine value is, and then multiply it. Here's what you're relying on your unit circle knowledge. 4 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3. So there's 1 pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3. That has a sine value of negative rad 3 over 2. 11 pi over 3. So there's one whole circle, that's 6 pi over 3. Plus, how much more do I need to get to 5 pi over 3? 1 pi over 3, 2, 3, 4, 5 pi over 3. So that's, let me shade these in. The circle on the left is a full circle, that's 6 pi over 3, plus 5 pi over 3 will get you 11 pi over 3. So I need to know, what is this cosine? What is that x value right there? And here's the origin. I had to go to the right. I had to go, so the x is positive, and it happens to be positive a half. And then I'm multiplying these two. So I've got a negative times a positive. That's negative rad 3 over 4. And that's it. That's simplified.